Liz Ritter. We were had a meeting with Nobles Crawford and Catherine Diaz last week, Saturday, and we are in the process of uh, making a hybrid sort of budget ranking in which we can have the newer members, the uh, older members, and the technology savvy members pretty much right along the process that in my third year, it still takes a little bit of time to really comprehend and understand everything that it entails and its importance. So, Catherine, I'm going to leave the floor to you for the next couple of minutes so that we can uh, get everyone, up in the same page and see what we've done in the past. Report what we've done in the past couple of hours with the doodle and the technology and so forth. So, Catherine.
Mhm. Hi, good evening, everybody. Happy Monday. So basically, part of the discussions for what would be kind of like our first ever virtual vote as a board, and I think it's a great way to test it in terms of, or just have that experience in terms of our budget rankings. So essentially, as Elias said, has explained, we know that virtual and technology has its limitations. And so we've discussed having a hybrid voting process. So first, it would be that the compilation, and I do think that some of the committee rankings are still pending, but I'm sure Ebenezer will get to that in his report. But basically, we're going to compile it all onto SurveyMonkey and feed people, and it would have to actually be two separate links. So folks will get in their email two very distinct links, one for capital, one for expense. And through that, folks, we have, 40 items and 25 items, and folks are able to rank those in the order that they wish. The goal is that folks will also be emailed prior to Wednesday the PDF document that we've traditionally used in person, as just a way to visually see, for example, that like small business or licensing or whichever committee ranked it in this order. And because in SurveyMonkey, it'll just be all items and people will be able to just kind of rank them. There are some limitations that come with that. So that's why we want to offer the PDF side by side. Of course, having folks vote via SurveyMonkey makes this process so much easier because, I can't imagine what the board office staff have had to tally for 50 plus people. So this time we're able to just kind of export all of the online responses on how they come in. And then, of course, folks' names and will be attached to those tallies. And then for folks who do not, because I'm not going to say age, right? Because there might be some folks across the age spectrum who want to vote not via SurveyMonkey. But for folks who don't feel comfortable with SurveyMonkey, aren't able to access it, what they will do is have it emailed to them. And so what we're going to do in the next 2 days is essentially call a small pool of people and just assess their comfort level, right? So if they have access to a printer at home and can quickly rank it, and email that over to Ebenezer so he can add it into the larger SurveyMonkey pool. In the case, for example, that someone cannot have a printer at home and do it, what we can set up are time slots to verbally give Ebenezer, in this case, either Chanel or Paola, what their rankings are. And that's just in terms of kind of a backup plan. But based on how meetings have been going in the last couple of months, it seems like folks might be able to just kind of quickly print them out and tally them on paper. And so one of the, I think, distinctions, right, is in having a hybrid is that normally when we voted when we ranked, in person, we submitted it that same evening, right? And so that is usually possible with something like SurveyMonkey or other applications. But this time around, considering that we want to give both pools of people the same amount of time, and this this is also being brought up to tonight's meeting, that the link, for example, will be sent. So the budget hearing, for example, is Wednesday at 6:30. We're estimating an hour meeting. At the end of that meeting, the link will be sent to folks. And because we need to compile, that other smaller pool, the idea is to keep the SurveyMonkey open for 48 hours. And so folks can actually, this time around, compared to in other years, have additional time to rank. If they also have, any further bigger questions that they want to ask the committee chairs or committee members, they're able to do that as well. And that kind of keeps the time, I would say, equitable for all, and keeps it really clean and neat. And I think what's really dope about that too is the fact that the deadline is October 31st, but we'll probably and most likely have in time for the general meeting what the actual ranking is if we do keep it to 48 hours. So that means by Friday evening we can collect it, Monday, Tuesday, compile it all together, and that'll be that.
Did you make the point? Did you make the point of like emails or text as well?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by emails or text?
That if some of the people feel more comfortable just emailing their budget rankings, they can easily email it to Ebenezer, or they can just, if they don't have the email access, or especially the older generation, they can just send a text.
Yeah, so that's I think, well, I mean, that's something to decide, right? It could be either via text or email, but just to kind of keep it more streamlined, yeah, that smaller pool of people who don't feel comfortable or can't access the SurveyMonkey, they can email it, or even if they take a picture, you can still email it and send it to Ebenezer, just to have that time record in the actual board email.
Did you mention a deadline for having this stuff in by?
Yes. So what I had said was 48 hours. So for example, let's say Friday, that would be Friday, 8 p.m.
Okay. Then, again, and then, then as soon as we can thereafter, we will publish the results, because again, everything we do is public.
Right. So that's what I was mentioning, is that the benefit of SurveyMonkey, right, is that instead of having to tally stuff, we can automatically export. And because we're assuming there's going to be a smaller pool of people who actually email the PDF, that can easily be tallied in. So those, I would, the goal would be to have that ranking out earlier than usual.
Well, I think, that will make life much easier, as you pointed out. And everyone who worked on this in the past, including Liz Ritter, they all need to be complimented for the horror of doing it the old way. And the new way, will be much easier, because at least you can get all the numbers in a spreadsheet, or many of the numbers in a spreadsheet, much faster. So,
may I respectfully suggest an improvement to this process?
Yeah, absolutely.
If the SurveyMonkey includes name, the SurveyMonkey should include the name of the person filling it out, so that the record preserves who filled it out.
It does include.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned.
Right. But here's my suggested improvement. If people don't feel comfortable with the SurveyMonkey, then I would suggest that the office staff take the emailed or physically dropped off PDFs, data enter that, instead of data entering it into Excel, data enter it into the SurveyMonkey, and write in Liz Ritter, paren, data entered by staff. Make sure that you check it to make sure that what I submitted in a PDF, you've data entered into SurveyMonkey, and then SurveyMonkey will compile everything. And since we're having our hearing on the 21st and the deadline is Friday, the office will be able to crank this out and wait for it, for the first time ever, present the results at the October general meeting. Talk about transparency.
The first thing is that the deadline is the 30th, not Friday.
the deadline for submitting it to the office.
To the office is
Yeah,
Friday,
so the
correct?
survey
And
link, sorry. go
Why
ahead.
would we have it be that late? I mean, if we're giving
it's on the
people,
30th.
but if we're I thought the
No,
deadline,
I'm sorry, Eliasa, the deadline to submit it to the OMB,
OMB is the
Or to
30th.
the
So
OMB
it
is the
Deadline
30th.
to
It
submit
is
it to the
30th.
office is 48 hours. So we're gonna have our hearing on the 21st, and then 48 hours after that is like Friday night. And then,
The general meeting. Yeah, Liz, I hear where you're going with it. And that's exactly what I was saying, that I think for the first time ever, we'll definitely be able to get it on, hopefully for this
That's
month's
amazing.
general meeting versus the following month. So I'll talk to Ebenezer and the office staff to also get to just enter it into the Survey Monkey versus the exported data. So that's pretty simple. Thank you for that.
And Catherine, just for your reference, in years past, although we had the option and were encouraged to the extent possible to submit our rankings the evening of the public hearing, in so many cases, there were changes made to the priorities listed, there were new things added. So it was not unusual for board members to submit their rankings, the next day or the day after. So what we're doing with the 48 hours is consistent with that as well.
Okay, Catherine, you have 3 people raise their hands. So if you can, I can't see who they are from my end.
Well, one was Liz and one was Wayne, and we took care of ours.
Oh, okay, all right.
Natalie also has her hand up.
Hi, thank you. Good to see you guys. I just wanted to mention, it would be fantastic, and thank you for doing all this work if you guys do submit it on time, but this would be if you by any chance need an extension. It sounds like OMB themselves are needing to extend their own hearings because they've had to postpone several of the agency hearings. So there might be, if there is needed, some flexibility this year because of the circumstances. But if you guys can still, bang it out and get it there and show them that CB12 had it together, that would be amazing. Thank you so much for the work.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
So,
Ellie,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry,
You
I
had
was just
something
gonna
else to say?
quickly, yeah, just really quickly, just about the actual hearing on Wednesday. So the idea, and just because obviously this is the executive, so we have all the committee, hopefully all committee chairs are on. I'm on my phone. The idea is, I think one of the main objectives, at least particularly for me, is that and for a lot of other members in the past, there's always been tons of confusion about the budget hearing. And so the agenda will be shared out tomorrow. And the goal is to have each one of you, within your 3-minute speaking portion, really speak to the items that you've enlisted. I know that given COVID, there are tons of priorities and maybe shifted priorities. And so, as much as committee chairs can highlight, any kind of like hot topics on that are being ranked, or if there's any technical budget items that are new, that are older, that you feel like were really robust, so please share that. And then I would also add, if there was items that you've included as a result of COVID or as a result of community groups that have come to your committee meetings, I think that's vital as well. Like Wayne added, usually new things get added. And we're gonna have, a really tight time frame if we do have to add new items, given that it is a Survey Monkey, because that means, adjusting that. So just as much as you can share within the brief amount of time on Wednesday evening is much appreciated. And if you do have to kind of hop off or you can't stay for the duration, just email me and I can bump people up based on the agenda.
All right. And something else that I wanted to add is that we will something that I, as a newer member, was not able to gauge or have a baseline from how the previous years, and I'm gonna make sure that we have some sort of guidance as to how our submittings, our rankings were in 2019 versus some of the things that were accomplished and some of the things that were not. I think that Ebenezer sent out the report from MBPO, or no, DCP rather, saying the numbers and what some of the budget items were applied to. So we're gonna have a baseline showing where we were from last year, so that we have an idea, especially the newer members, so that they understand the process and how that accountability emanates from, what was promised to us versus what was actually done. So hopefully we all make it interesting and pitch in and make this process a learning experience for the newer members and those of us who don't 100% dominate the topic. So going to the next item on the agenda is Ebenezer's report.
Before you move
Uh,
on, can I just mention one thing?
It's not a Virginia, of course.
All right. The hearing that we hold should not be referred to as a budget consultation. It's that's a term that's used when the community board meets with the city agencies and consults with them on what's needed in the budget. This is a public hearing on budget priorities for the community board. We should not be using the word consultation.
Precisely. I don't think anyone did, but thank you for.
No, that's what it says on our monthly calendar.
Okay. Great. Ebenezer, if you can get that corrected. Thanks, Steve. Ebenezer, you're next on the agenda.
Good evening, everyone. Always it's a pleasure being here as your district manager. Not too much to report on my end. As you hear the report from Catherine and Eleazar, we have been working, try to put this together for the public hearing on the budget priority. What gonna be the way we're gonna proceed since we are working virtually. Also, we have been working how the elections may happen, the one is scheduled for this month and next month. So that has been calling our attention, and also communicating with OMB, working in the estimate of district need, et cetera, plus a few site visits that we have to make. So not too much to report. I know that the treasurer is waiting for my compilation of the expenditure in the spreadsheet that he sent me. I have not been able to complete the whole thing. I want to give you an accurate document. So I don't have it for you, so you don't have a report at this time. Working I would like to complete it by Friday if it's possible. Otherwise, we're going to do it next month. This is the end of my report. Please be attentive to the emails that I send regarding the budget process. Thank you to all of you who have responded on time to my request. And thank you also for the one that I had to call back to follow up and clarify some information. We continue working with this, and you're going to be communicating with you via email and a phone call if it's necessary. This is the end of my report, Mr. Chairman. Take it back.
I have actually a couple of questions, but it may be for both Ebenezer and for Eleazar.
Sure.
I think over the weekend, I had a couple of questions, relative to the upcoming election and how things are going to be handled. And Natalie forwarded a link to the recent borough board meeting, because the Board of Elections made a presentation on that. So I'm wondering what CB12 has done and is doing to get some of this vital information out to people regarding, for example, how to spot a bogus, ballot box. Any ballot box that is not inside is not legit. But also that there is no legal limit on the number of let's say, absentee ballots that a person can deliver, meaning if there are seniors who are uncomfortable mailing the absentee ballots and want to have them dropped off, but are still uncomfortable doing that, they can give it to someone to drop off. That there was a question is there a limit to that? I mean, can 5 neighbors give all of their ballots to someone who is younger who's going? And the answer, is yes. But, I'm wondering what we're doing. CBs 9 and 10 spoke a great deal about, literally in the case of CB 10, walking up and down 125th Street, socially distanced, but letting people know. CB 9 did similar things. My question is, what are we doing to get the word out, and to get the word out in multiple languages? But on the public safety side, CB 9 pointed out that not since COVID, but rather since last year, there's been an uptick in drug-related crime and activity in that whole West Harlem area. And, they're working with the police precincts to address it. And, we all know that activities like that do not respect community district lines. And so if it's happening in West Harlem, Haviland Heights, it's crossing 155th Street into, Washington Heights. And, what are we doing to look at that? Which then raises the third question is, there used to be a rather frequent gathering of the 4 Upper Manhattan Community Board chairs, sort of 9, 10, 11, 12, to discuss what's going on uptown and what's kind of a collective strategy. My question is, are those meetings still happening? And if not, what are we going to do to bring them back to life? Because, what's affecting, West Harlem is affecting Washington Heights.
There's compounded 4 questions, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing about the elections and what are we doing as far as a board to make sure that people that speak more than one language to understand of.
It's not even people who speak more than one. It's like, how is that information getting out there? Because if I didn't ask, I wouldn't have gotten like any of this.
Right. So we've been partnering with organizations like myself, NIMIC, that we've been working with, and also NBPO. We've been participating in some of their events in 175th and Broadway, 181st and Broadway. Isidro and Juan Rosa and all those executive directors of those organizations that we've been working with, getting the word out for the voting. And as far as community board 9, 10, 11, and 12, that's a tremendous idea, an initiative that we should start again putting back together. I'll speak to Cicely Harris, which I'm the person that I usually speak the most, and the other 2, Wayne. I'll ask of you of making that connection. And on the issue of the ballots and our voting, were you able to link up with the executive, the chair of CB1, as to give us an answer on how the voting took place?
You're talking about the elections for the board. I'm talking about
Yes.
the elections for the President of the United States.
Yeah. I know. I'm just asking you.
No, I didn't do that. My assumption is that relative to the community board elections, that's something that, office staff was going to handle. My question pertained to, I think we all by now have received in the mail the information from the board of elections with the card and the little, what they call the fast pass. And they say that you can vote, safe and fast using this, but they don't say how. And in the presentation given by the representatives of the Board of Elections at Borough Board, they explained that. And I think that would be very useful information to get out there. There are apparently a number of short videos on the Board of Elections website that also would be, maybe if they get, linked, or if somehow, CB12 connects to them. I think there's a lot of information that people need to know. There's a lot of misinformation they need to know about, and we need to be really on top of this.
Okay, good. There was a situation with a person I know who's not even a U.S. citizen that actually received a ballot, so he could vote. That kind of thing is happening. Yes, his name is Antonio Peña. Yeah, this is the kind of things that are happening out there that people need to know. That could have been a felony in the event that he would have voted, right? So that could have become a bigger issue. I think
I would suggest we get the information from the Board of Elections about early voting, because I think there's confusion and people don't realize it's going to begin on the 24th and run for, I think, 7 or 9 days. So, and it's going to be happening throughout our community. So we should advertise the fact that people can go vote if they're concerned about voting on the day of the election itself. They're going to have various opportunities to vote before the election day. And it would be good if we could help get that word out.
That's my point exactly, Steve.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have any answers, questions before we move on to Gerald's report?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That the answer is yes. There are people that have questions. Who made that person? I'm not looking. I can't see.
I'm
The
sorry.
stack.
I see.
Catherine, can you help us with the
Curtis and
stack?
OC, go.
Okay. Question to Ebenezer. At the June meeting, June executive committee meeting, I asked for the the licensing committee documents to be sent to me. And Eli indicated that all community board members should get it. So far, at least I didn't get anything. And
I'm sorry,
so-
Ossie. I didn't.
Wait, can I finish my? Let me-
Ossie, I'm sorry,
me
I didn't
just-
get your
I would
question
like-
because you was frozen.
Okay.
I know you said at the June meeting, and then I didn't hear anything after that.
Okay, so at the June meeting, I asked for the licensing committee pre-meeting documents to be sent to me. And Eli indicated that he wants all community board members to receive it. So far, I didn't receive anything. So I wonder, where is it? Like, when are we going to receive it? Before the general meeting?
What is specific? Can you be specific as to what information it is that you pertain in, that you reframe the question? What information is specifically?
The pre-meeting documents that being submitted to the licensing committee?
So you're talking about the
All
applications.
That's correct.
All right,
This
even
is
though
the public
that
information
yeah,
that
yeah,
everyone can have,
All
should
right.
have access to.
yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. I mean, it's public access, most
Right.
especially when it's a renewal. The owner's information and the business information is on the SLA website, so that's not a big deal. I don't think. I mean, it's public information anyways.
I didn't say that it's a big deal.
Yeah.
My question
Okay.
is that at the June meeting, what you said is that it's like, all right, I should not be the only one receiving it, but the entire community board should. And so far, I didn't see anything.
Well,
That's all. So I'm
All right.
asking
Good
Ebenezer.
enough.
No, so I'm asking Ebenezer, since the general meeting will be next week, when should we expect to get those documents?
Which documents you want from June forward?
No.
Or you want, which month are you looking for?
Going forward, every month before the, when the licensing committee receive those documents, I would think it will be convenient to just send it to everyone. But if not, then that can be sent, after the meeting.
So
Whenever
let
the
me-
office feel that it's the best time to send it to the
Okay.
community
I
board.
got your question. All right. Curtis, I think are you okay? No, you muted yourself. Okay, so Jim, let me ask you as the
Yes.
all right. As far as has anyone here not received any documentation in the general meeting with all the documentation that is required in order to vote on a resolution? Is there anyone else that it has not received proper documentation so that the resolutions are passed with as much information as we've done historically?
It's
I think
There-
the
what
problem
am I
is-
missing here?
The problem,
we
I think,
missing
is that
Can-
often
can
we
I-
don't get the information until the day of the meeting or the night
No.
of the meeting.
No.
I mean,
That's
it would
not
be-
what OC is saying. OC would like to see the actual applications that the applicants submit on the basis of which the committee has a discussion.
Thank you.
It's
So the
not
commi-
hard to understand.
So it'll
We've already
be
agreed that that would be sent to her and that anybody on the board who requests that could get that information as well. So OC's question, not that I can get the last 10 minutes of my life back, is it having been asked and approved for her to receive that information, when, Ebenezer, do you plan on sending it to her?
Well, I'm not clear. I'm not clear if this was approved or not on the last meeting.
Okay.
I don't recall the discussion that was approved.
let me kind of
I'm-
like just
Sure.
move on, because I think we just talking about the same thing. So it's sort of like you getting a presentation in the parks committee prior of the presentation happening. Is that what you're saying? Right?
No, or
That's what I understood. Like you
no,
want the
what
documentation
it's
prior
really
to,
simple.
right?
What I'm asking is the same documents that the licensing committee is receiving prior to
okay.
the licensing committee.
Also, something that you specifically would like to have, right?
Well, it's a public information.
Of course.
And
So
in June,
we get it. So
I'm just,
Ebenezer,
apparently,
yeah. No, Ebenezer.
Did you get me?
Just yeah, I got it. So Ebenezer, so whatever information is public, you just send it. It's not a big deal.
Okay, I didn't
Alright.
say it's a big
Okay.
deal. All I'm saying is,
So do you have another question so that we can move forward? Because
no, I
think
just
we've all
wanted,
agreed.
my question was like, when am I going to receive it before on everything
Okay.
else?
All right.
I have a question.
The October general meeting. That's my
All right.
question.
Thank you. Does anyone else have another question?
This is Kathy, sorry, because I can't raise
Okay.
my hand. So, because for example, when we get the packet, we get the actual application. Sometimes, for example, if it's a restaurant, they need to come in with the menu. Also, are you referring to the supplementary materials like menus and floor plans, or are you talking about the actual application?
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't think it would be that complicated.
I'm not asking because it's complicated. I wanted clarity on it because, for example, when it was brought up previously, it's something that it doesn't seem like everyone gets routinely. And if it's something that can just be uploaded with the minutes on the website, then that's an opportunity to improve the transparency. So I'm just asking for specificity because the application we all get. So what other materials is it that we're not getting?
Okay, we don't get the application.
We do not get the applications.
Can I finish, please? Thank you. We don't get the
I'm on your side.
I know,
I'm telling
I
you the
understand
same
it, but
thing you
I'm
do.
trying to save time here and try to be as clear as possible. We don't get the application. At what we get, Catherine, is the minutes and the resolutions after the meeting. What I'm requesting is to get the public information, which is the packet that the licensing committee is receiving prior to their meeting.
Okay, good. So that's being established.
But
all right.
My question still stands.
Okay.
When was this discussed? Because I don't see in the minutes. I don't recall this ever being a motion to pass this or not. If it's a request and approved by the chair, I have no problem, but I don't recall this discussion the last month.
No, it was just.
No, it was in June.
Yeah,
I can.
Yeah, she's gonna continue to ask until she
obviously
gets it. But I already instructed Ebenezer, so we can just move forward.
Right, but that has to be clear.
But can like you said,
and that's it.
Sure, like you just said, I'm gonna just finish it and let's just move on. This is really a non-productive conversation or something that you should just
not my fault that it's not productive.
But, so now you're gonna try into a silly argument. But let's just come on. Let's just move on.
It's actually not
the
silly.
next report. Gerard, please.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great to see everybody. So as Ebenezer indicated, I have more of an update than a report. And really with no intention of being overly critical, but just to recap, no financial budget reports have been issued by, again, not being overly critical, Ebenezer, just to update, but nothing's been issued since June. So we really have no information issued from July, August, September, and nothing through October. So as Ebenezer noted, in September, I asked him to issue financial budget reports for those months so we could do kind of a first quarter report to at the executive committee and move forward with that. So definitely would greatly appreciate Ebenezer if, going forward, as I've requested since I became the treasurer, 1 week before the executive meeting, it would really be helpful if you would just send that information so we could kind of kick the tires, take a look, and if it makes sense, we're comfortable presenting it to the executive board. But really, the executive board and the board really do deserve a monthly update of some sort. So I would make a personal appeal, Ebenezer, if you could do that going forward, week before the executive board, just get it out and we'll look it over and we can present it. Thank you.
More than, okay, I got it, but more than your ask. I think that it needs to be some sort of recurring meeting between the both of you and connect prior to each one of these meetings, and so that he can show you what he has, and then you can guide him into what you need, and hopefully you can take that from there and
Correct.
get decks off. So you can at least try to like offline talk,
Yeah.
connect, and just have that meeting and so that we can have that report. It's over.
Without question. And Chair, since February of 2019, that is a standing request. I have an email. I repeated that every month. So just
Got
hope
it.
I can get it.
Got it, Gerard. Okay,
Thank you.
moving forward to our secretary's report.
Okay.
Liz read it.
Okay,
it
wait
has
a
the-
second. Yeah, that's a question. Yeah, I think Liz asked a question before you move on.
Yeah, I've had my hand raised for a while. I actually have a
My
question
bad.
for.
Sorry.
That's okay. I have a question for you in the chair's report. Generally in October is when the chair announces the formation of the nominating committee. And I'm just wondering, and usually at the October executive committee, the chair advises the executive committee as to who is on the nominating committee.
So we're working on that. You'll, by the general meeting, you will have the composition of the.
Okay, my turn.
Tauzi? Yeah, your
Hi,
turn.
okay. Hello, everyone. I have nothing to report. I actually request the office to send me the attendance for all the committees, but I did not receive them. So I do not have anything to report. I want to add something, Eli, I'm sorry, that's related to a question to you about a special election that's supposed to happen this coming general meeting about the assistant secretary special election, I would think. And I want to also thank Liz for pointing out that there need to be a correction on the tonight agenda from me being assistant secretary to a secretary. So that's my report, or that's my no report for tonight.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
Osi, for your reference as secretary, and this is something that I don't know if Paola has any updated information. During the land use committee meeting, I noted that in the list of committee members, we have Domingo Estevez and we have Juan Guzman. And I know Domingo, I think Domingo's online. Domingo attended, I think, the January and February land use, but not since. So we need to clarify if he is or is not on land use. And
I was informed that once you're a chair, the executive committee meeting and your committee meeting are the two meetings that you have to attend.
well, I mean, it varies. I mean, I was chair of land use and also a member of public safety for a while. But my point is, if you look at the most recent list, Domingo, you're listed as being on land use. And we're trying to clarify that, because if you're not, then you shouldn't be listed as a committee member.
Yeah, agreed. From my understanding, I was the chair of business development and executive committee meeting where my
Okay, so what my report, my point to the secretary is that's something that she wants to look into. And Paola said she was going to reach out to you, and also to Juan, who is new. But I don't have, actually, I need Juan's email as well, because he did not log into the committee meeting, and I want to make sure he knows that he's a committee member.
All righty. The next item is the review of the calendars. So we're gonna go over November's 2020 calendars. Hopefully you guys had an opportunity to review them and take a look at them. If there's anything that you guys would like to change as far as your meetings, this is a chance. So does anyone have any problems with November's calendar? If there's anything that you would like to change? Is that a thumbs up?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone?
I would like to make a change for my November. It's going to be on a Thursday, but it's not 6/7, it's 6:30.
It's a Tuesday. Oh, sorry.
It's a
Yes,
Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, 12, 6:30. Ebenezer, if
6:30.
you want to change the time.
Yes, thank you. I do it.
So November 2020 calendars. Approved. December 2020.
Isn't the, November, back to November, the executive committee and the general board meeting, aren't they at 6:30?
It's correct, so.
Yes, I'm gonna make those changes. That's why we send it to you guys.
Okay,
December's calendar.
Okay, I'm wondering if we need to do the general meeting on the third Tuesday. I mean, we're hoping in November, we're holding the board meeting 2 days before Thanksgiving. Maybe we could do the same in December with respect to, it'll be 3 days before Christmas, or it'll be two days before the Christmas Eve.
I think this year, this is a special year. I think that we should just give people like a nice little 2 weeks break. You know, it's just been an
This
exhausting
timing
year.
is what we usually do.
Yeah, but usually Christmas comes earlier in the week. But okay, it's not a.
It's just been a tough year for
It doesn't
everybody.
matter. It doesn't matter to me.
well, also, we have the executive meeting scheduled for after the general board meeting for December.
No, it's 5 days before.
For December, the executive committee is listed for the 21st. The
No,
general board meeting is listed for the 15th.
We sent it a revised calendar this afternoon. Is scheduled for the 10th.
You know, not everybody's on their email all day long.
Can you, I know, Mary, can you look at it? Here, Mary,
I can't see it.
I'll text it to you.
No, it's, I'll
right,
I'll get it.
All right.
I'm sure it's on my email, but you know.
Yeah, you may want
Is
to.
the executive committee going to be at 7 or at 6:30?
6:30 as well.
Okay, so if the executive committee is going to be at 6:30, then the calendar should say 6:30.
They should all say 6:30. They're all wrong at the
We
times.
said that for November as well.
Yeah.
And I going back to my point, you might want to check with Faye to see if she wants to move youth and education so that it's not happening after the executive committee in December.
I haven't seen Faye, and I just texted her, and I was not able to.
Right, that's what I'm saying. She's not on the call, so.
Oh, she's not?
Someone might want to reach out to her, because right now in December, youth and education is scheduled to meet after the executive committee and the day before the board meeting, the general meeting. They might want to move that.
To the 7th or so. Yeah, understand.
I
Great
don't know,
point.
but they might want.
Yeah. I got it. I get your point. Yeah. So, Paola, if you're gonna, Ebenezer, can you just reach out to
and
Faye tomorrow?
This is Debbie. One good thing about potentially Faye being on the 7th is the same night as TNT is we have one agenda item that's really a common item with Faye's committee and TNT. Haven't really talked to her at length about it yet, but it relates to a charter school. So that would be awesome if she could move to the 7th, because that would allow us to do that together. It would be great.
All right.
So I'm sorry, Debbie, what you're suggesting is to have only one meeting, Transportation Committee and the Youth and Education Committee, one soon
I think
meeting?
what she's saying, if youth and education can also meet on the 7th, then the one item they have together, they can discuss it together, and then if they have to break into separate meetings, they can do so. But if they're scheduled for the same date and same time, they can easily overlap. I think that's what she's saying.
Yeah, and obviously I would defer to Faye, you know, obviously she should move the meeting as she sees fit, but it would be great if she did it on the 7th, because it would allow us to, you know, do all this.
We have to
Okay,
look
I will
into
call
the
Hal tomorrow.
logistics. We have to look into the logistics of the two meetings separating with the various Zoom meetings, you know.
Yeah, well, I think we have the technology that.
The
Oh, yeah, we
technology
just
is
have to tell.
actually pretty simple.
Good,
you can
but
have
as long
one
as people
meeting.
know how to do it in advance.
You can have one meeting and then go into what's called breakout rooms. And then the two meetings, if they start together and they have this shared agenda item together as one meeting, then when they're done discussing that, you go into breakout rooms and the person who's the host can send people who are on TNT into that breakout room, and the
Yeah,
youth
but Zoom doesn't give you that.
Right. It does mean that the person who's the host is going to have to know who attaches to which meeting. And at the
Got it.
beginning of the meeting, you're going to have to, I don't know, ask the public attendees to, like, please identify what meeting it is that they are there for, so that they get put into the right breakout room. The
All right, well,
advantage of-
let's go into the
Okay.
details later.
Yeah.
We don't
All right.
even know if this works for Faye yet, so.
Okay, good enough. So now that we have all agreed on December's calendar, then we can move on to Liz Ritter's report, since I understand that she's going to be leaving us earlier than usual.
Yes, thank you very much for that. So I don't really have that much to report. The substance of what happened in the committee will be covered in the minutes, which I am trying very hard to get to you in advance of next week's general meeting. We of course had a very robust budget ranking session, and I think the Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee has, like, I don't know, more capital items than all the other committees combined, because we have so many parks. So that part of the meeting was very long. But at the beginning of the meeting, we did have about a 45-minute presentation and Q&A with the head of Parks Enforcement Patrol, and that was really useful and very informative, both for us and also for him to be able to hear directly from the community about some of the enforcement issues in parks. And he is committed to attending on a regular basis, not necessarily every month, but on a regular basis, and to just having a more open communication between the committee and the board and his agency. So that was really helpful. Curtis, I have to be in touch with you offline about some items from our committee that relate more to yours that I think are already on your list. And we have had some ongoing conversation with the Metropolitan Museum about the Margaret Corbin Drive and the possibility of opening that up in the spring. Even though the museum is now open, there are a lot of people in the community who liked having that road closed for physical exercise. So we're looking on the possibility of having that open in the spring once we're back to evenings still being light out. Now it's, they're dark. I think that's pretty much it. We didn't have any agenda items. The other issue was something that was raised by Richard at the last executive committee about the possible renaming of Bennett Park in light of the discovery of James Gordon Bennett's history as a flaming racist, and that he's maybe not the guy we want to have parks, and I guess by the same extension, roads named after, and some actions that the fire department took with renaming an award that was named after him based on his endowment of same. The Parks Department is looking at that. They are going to be announcing on November 2nd the results of their analysis of this. I assume that process is not going to be their final decision, but is going to be the beginning of a public conversation with some opportunities for public feedback. We didn't get to discuss that so much at our meeting because of the length of the meeting, so that's going to be on the calendar for the November meeting. And in the meantime, some people who have had some suggestions on possible different names to consider for Bennett Park have forwarded them along to the Parks Department. So that's pretty much it. Do people have questions?
I have one related to not the Bennett Park co-naming.
Yes.
Some time ago, a community resident brought to our attention issues related to the person after whom Fort Tryon Park
Yes.
is named, and British loyalists and other things that aren't terribly American. And at that time, I don't know if anyone made much of it, but if we're going to focus on Bennett Park, what about Fort Tryon?
So that was something that somebody had raised quite a while ago, and a lot of people kind of poo-pooed the idea. And then there was a second iteration of discussion about it, where it was taken a little bit more seriously. I don't know what the status of that is right now. There are a lot of people who don't necessarily think that it should be changed, and some people who do. But I think that when the Parks Department comes out with their recommendations on November 2nd, that park and others, I think, are up for discussion.
Okay.
So I have a question I just can't raise. Liz, did you say that there were 4 other names previously submitted? Like, I'm sure lots of people have tried to rename parks in the past, or are they kind of opening that up to the general public now?
I think that we're gonna have, I think actually Steve is better able to answer that question.
Well, let me just say that the Parks Department is undergoing an across-the-board review of a lot of different parks. And the announcement that I expect is to be made in early November, I assume is the beginning of a process, and a particular set of parks is probably going to be identified. And I don't know at this point whether Bennett and/or Fort Tryon will be on that list, but I don't believe that would foreclose any further dialogue about those names. But I wouldn't, Liz, necessarily commit to saying at this moment that either one will be part of the announcement that's coming up. I don't know if that's going to be. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but because there's a particular thrust right now to the renamings, and I don't know whether or not these 2 parks are going to fit within that particular category, but the commissioner is opening up the idea of renaming parks. So this consideration is going to go on beyond November for sure.
Right, and that's why I actually didn't feel too bad about not being able to have a robust conversation about it in October. I feel like we're going to be in a better position to have a meaningful conversation when we have the Parks Department's recommendations and people can respond to that. Because it was my assumption, and I'm glad to know that I was right, that the Parks Department's announcement was going to be the beginning of a public conversation, not a fait accompli, this is what we are doing, end of story. So that is good to know.
Thank you.
That's my report.
Thank you, Liz. Wayne?
Thanks, Eleazar. So at the Land Use Committee, we had basically 4 agenda items. The first one was a briefing by Simeon Bankoff of the Historic Districts Council on the listing of the Fort Washington branch of the New York Public Library on the National Register of Historic Places. We learned about that, through the Borough President's office, and wanted to get some more information. As you may have heard, committee members may have heard of the Carnegie Libraries. I think it was in 1899, the Carnegie Foundation gave the city of New York a grant of, I think it was $5.5 million. In today's value, that's about $160 million. And it was dedicated to building libraries.
Full.
Ebenezer, you need to.
No, llámame la noche.
I can hear your conversation, Ebenezer. I mean, Eleazar. So there were 67 libraries built from that grant. More than half of them are in Manhattan. and the Fort Washington branch is actually the last one to be built in Manhattan. But the real important thing is the Historic Districts Council worked on creating a framework for designation of the Carnegie Libraries as like a class of buildings. So that framework was approved by SHPO. So now any individual Carnegie Library can be nominated under that framework because all of the research has already been done. After the framework was approved, SHPO wanted a test case. So the Fort Washington branch was picked as that test case, and it was listed. We also found out literally the day of the Land Use Committee meeting that the Holy Rood Church is also now on the state register of historic places and was forwarded for listing on the national register. We then had an updated discussion on the proposed development at 857 Riverside Drive, which we previously discussed in September and for which there have been some discussions over the summer. That's the site where sort of an 1800s, two-story single-family house is proposed to be replaced with a 13-story apartment building. There are questions pertaining to the zoning, but more critically, the questions pertain to how the street width is measured, because that impacts zoning and it impacts the building height. From DOT's perspective, of everyone else who actually knows the topography of the area, Riverside Drive in that area is a narrow street. But what the building department appears to be doing is counting the width of a portion of Fort Washington Park as part of the street, which makes it then a very wide street. I believe the borough president's office and city planning, we're going to speak to the appropriate people in city parks directly to get clarification on that, because, as I said, that determination of whether Riverside Drive is a wide or a narrow street impacts whether I believe the sliver law applies. And if it does, it impacts the height, which will limit the height to 5 stories instead of 13. We then had an update by Dr. Ramona Hernandez of the Dominican Studies Institute on a proposal that we discussed, not with her, but with Lori Tobias Cohen last year. And that was for a non-contiguous historic district that's tied to, the Dominican community. And we say that the discussion last year focused on 2 initiatives that Congressman Espaillat was interested in. One was the non-contiguous historic district dedicated to the Dominican community, and another was an Inwood apartment house district. And just to clarify, the non-contiguous district, as Dr. Hernandez points out, most historic districts or landmarking, it's tied to a specific building, a specific area, or a specific set of buildings, whereas this non-contiguous district is really tied to cultural memory. It's a very interesting prospect. We were presented with a lot of demographic data, which then is translated into a draft interactive map that has icons of various, places, locations, and places where people lived who are tied to the Dominican, community. We had a thorough conversation, and Dr. Hernandez, invited the Land Use Committee to review and comment on that, and we're more than happy to do so. But we also thought that some other committees of the board would be interested in, including youth and education, because I can easily see taking a lot of this information and turning it into, material that goes into the classrooms, as well as parks and cultural affairs, because once again, you're talking about the cultural memory of a place. So that's an ongoing conversation. And then we worked on our expense and capital budget priorities. We basically took the 2 items that land use submitted last year, made some modifications, and voted to resubmit those. They both continue to be relevant to both the committee and to the community. And we're very happy that last year, the full board ranked each of our items in the top 5. And that's my report.
Wayne?
Okay.
Chris, I mean, not,
Steve, do
Steve.
you have a question?
Yeah, I think Natalie is also on the call. Natalie and I, Tim Anderson from our office and other people from the Riverside Drive area were on a call right before this meeting. And it was brought up, the request was made, as we had discussed at the Land Use Committee a couple of months ago, that the board itself send its own letter to the Department of Buildings indicating that we're concerned about the 857 Riverside development, the demolition of the existing building, the construction of a 13-story building on the site. And I think we said that we were going to pursue that. But
my understanding is either Ebenezer or Eliezer was going to do that because we're asking for information from the building department. So was that done?
The 850, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
On the 857 Riverside Drive,
Yes.
the letter, the letter is supposed to have gone out. I'm not sure whether it was sent out already, but I did get you both of your emails on that situation. So I'm gonna double check tomorrow when I come into the
Yeah,
office.
I mean, because, you know, like a month has passed since we
Yes,
discussed it.
yes.
And, you know, the point
I
is,
remember.
there is, you know, like the central point, which it's coming down to is, you know, we have the Department of Transportation, as we said last month, saying that, you know, the lower drive is so narrow that it really can't be or shouldn't be a two-way street. It should be a one-way street. And you have the building department saying, oh, no, it's a wide street. And, you know, I provided to Tim Anderson in the borough president's office because he wasn't, but it seems to be contradictory to what Parks is saying.
Okay.
Also, Wayne, you should know that Tim said today that the sliver law may apply regardless of what the issue is about the street width. That the sliver law has like a different set of requirements, and whether we can pursue both issues, but the street width will not determine whether the sliver law applies.
No, I think it's the lot width, and that even that's a question. But my point is, you know, it's important for, you know, the questions that were raised that for the building department, Eliezer and Ebenezer, to know that there are questions we want them to answer. We're not passing a resolution. We're saying in the course of discussion, all of these questions came up. We need you as the agency with jurisdiction to give us answers.
Yeah, could we see the letter before it goes out? Wayne, have you already reviewed the letter?
I haven't seen anything.
I'll send you a copy to the both of you.
Yeah, please, before it goes out, please.
Yeah, I would also suggest, Eliezer, I understand that Mark Levine's office has drafted a letter that Gail Brewer is going to sign on to addressing that. If we could,
the other way around.
What other way around?
The letter is being drafted by the borough president's office.
That's not what we were told in the land use committee.
Well, that's what I was told just now.
Okay, great. But the point is, if we could see that letter, it would help us to coordinate as well. But we're losing time.
Yes.
All right. Okay, guys. Thank you. Steve? It's almost like a trickle-down effect. You get Liz, Wayne, and Steve.
Well, at the Health and Environment Committee meeting, we had once again a thorough presentation by the Health Department on the current situation with respect to COVID-19. We got a report that two of our zip codes, 33 and 34 at that point, were exhibiting an increase in positive cases. There was there's a downward trend at that point in 32 and 40. I just reviewed the statistics before this call began. As of today, there have been increased cases since we had our meeting on October 1st. In the last 18 days, there have been 191 more cases of COVID-19 in our community, 38 more in zip code 40, 56 more in zip code 32, 65 more in zip code 33, 32 more in 34. And there have been 3 more deaths in our community, 1 in zip code 32 and 2 in zip code 33. So I don't know, the news is not all that great. We also had a presentation from two of the resource navigators who work out of the Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation. This is an aspect of the test and trace core that I was not previously familiar with. These are people who are providing services to people who have COVID-19 and who have to isolate themselves, either staying at home or in hotels, and who need services or supplies, who may need food or medication or even diapers, all sorts of different things that they may need, but they can't access to because they're isolated or quarantining, self-quarantining at home. And so they reach out to these people, and they provide them with services. This service is open at the Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation 7 days a week from 9 to 9. They have 4 resource navigators. They've helped over 1,500 people in the last few months, including about half of whom are in Washington Heights and Inwood, and the others are in the Bronx and other boroughs. So they have a pretty large territory that they're covering. Also on the plus side, we had a report from Betty Lehman that Isabella has had no new COVID cases. And the only other thing I want to report is that last Thursday, I attended the ribbon cutting for the new Orion Health Center on Wadsworth Avenue, just south of 181st Street. It's now open, providing services to people in our community. It's this is a wonderful nonprofit facility, and this is the 7th one that they've opened up in Manhattan. It's about time maybe that they came up to Washington Heights and Inwood, but very happy to see that they're now in the community. I had asked them to invite both Eliezer and Cedro, and I hope that they did. But I guess maybe neither one of you could make it there.
I didn't get the invite, Steve, but thank you though.
Oh, I told them to. Damn it, I'm sorry. Fern Hertzberg was there, and oh shoot, one of our other board members was also there. But I specifically asked them to invite the two of you.
Next time, Steve. Don't worry about it.
If they want to keep the sidewalk clean, they should have sent an invite, but we'll do that. We'll take care of it.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. Is that the end of your report?
But Cedro, if you get a chance, you should drop in there. It's I think you're going to be very happy to see how they've fixed up the place, and it should be an asset to the community on all sorts of levels, not just on healthcare.
So Steve, I think this was covered on New York One or one of the other news stations.
Yes, it was on New York One.
So this is, I mean, the building itself dates back to like the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they've kept and restored the facade and did a thorough renovation inside.
Yeah. It used to be a theater, and if you look way at the top along the cornice, it still has the old, those classic theater images, of different faces. And yes,
used to be called Astro.
No. That Astro was further down, I think, on 181st. I think this was just called the Heights Theater. And when I had an office next door, it was a porn house. But
it was always a porn. It was always a porn house.
No, it wasn't. No. At one point, it showed real art films, and it was a regular movie theater.
Art film. That's what it's called. Art film.
I'll cut it out. Okay, for years and years. But yes, they preserved the facade, and I was really pleasantly surprised to see how they preserved those old what do you call those things? On the up above along the top edge. What?
Gargoyles?
Yes. Well, yeah, they're like gargoyles.
Yeah. It's a very nice adaptive reuse.
All right. Yes. My doctor is right next door. I'm sure you know him, Steve Fardo.
Yeah.
Next door, right next door. I'm probably gonna go check it out. All right.
Well, you should visit this place too.
All right, I will. There's a question on the Q&A, Steve. Someone is asking, where can they look up the COVID numbers for 10032, for the zip code 10032?
All of this is on the health department website. It's all there. You can there's a tab that
What's
says
the URL, so I can just put it in the chat?
I'll have to send it to you. God.
Would it be
let-
nyc.gov/health?
Yes, yes, I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, and then there's a tab that says COVID-19, and then when you get to that page, you have to click on data. And then after you click on data, you click on table.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
Mary?
One second. Zip code 32. The question involves zip code 32?
Right.
Yes,
but now
they
she
want to
doesn't
know
have-
they want to
Okay,
know they want to know the COVID numbers.
Okay, so that's number 80. You have to scroll all the way down. Zip code 32 is number 80 on the list.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the answer. Mary, your report.
Yes.
So I have my hand raised.
I thought you were leaving.
I am. So I wanted to say that I was leaving, but before I left, I did want to say, since we didn't get to Isidro's committee report, I just wanted to commend him on a particularly well-run and productive meeting. And, I wanted to be able to say that publicly. So thank you. And with that, I will see you on Wednesday.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay. We spent a good deal of the meeting talking about issues about, well, actually, health issues, safety issues, a variety of things, which I have brought to the appropriate committees thus far. And the other part of the meeting, we spent revising our budget items and renumbering them according to the priority, because we felt that there were a lot of things that needed to move up on the list and some things needed to be changed. One of the issues has been that, with trying to get seniors to log into the Zoom meetings and things, is that they don't have connectivity, and we wanted to be sure that system-wide upgrade of CB12M area to improve access to connectivity and Wi-Fi was an important thing, not just at senior centers, but throughout the area. In the expense budget, we wanted to be sure that the seniors are getting access and outreach, that we're providing access and outreach to healthy, culturally appropriate food for seniors with medical needs. We talked about the importance of mental health issues, but referred that over to Steve Simon, and hopefully he's going to follow through and include the seniors under that item.
I heard that he did.
All right. And then we talked about the issues that had been discussed about our resolution to give priority to the frail seniors and disabled, and the long lines that happen at businesses in the area. We talked about suggestions from some of the board members. Steve had suggested maybe the possibility of having lost my words, Steve.
A press conference.
Thank you. Press conference as a possibility. And I spoke to Eli about that, and he is in agreement. So I think we're going to work towards that. And I'm hoping, I asked Paola to be sure that she sent out the resolution to the electeds. And I know it's gone out. So I'm trying to actually see which businesses are actually allowing the disabled and seniors to get in front of the line. What I do notice is that 175th Street Farmers Market on Thursdays, they have Grow NYC staff at
one of the biggest farmers tables there to let the seniors and disabled jump to the front of the line. And they're very good at that. And, you know, so I'm hoping that we can use them as an example, although they're not local businesses, but so I'm scouring the area. If anybody is aware in the CB12 area of a business that is doing that, let me know, please. We want to pursue that as an example. And that's about it.
Thank you for your contributions, Mary. I really appreciate them, and I'm sure all of us do. So thank you. The next is Ariel.
Can I ask Mary a question?
Of course. I'm sorry, I thought you were just standing up.
Yeah, Mary, don't any of the banks do something like that? Provide a special line for seniors?
Not that I know of, because I've dealt with Chase Bank on 181st, and I deal with Citibank on 180th, between 180 181st, and neither one of them do.
I thought maybe the Apple Bank does it.
I haven't been to Apple Bank. I think Betty goes there for one of our other organizations, so I can ask her.
Yeah, check that
I'll
one.
check with her.
But if you can't find anything else, then I would use the green market. If they're doing something like that, we can use them and prop them up as the example of you know.
And I'll tell you, there's one lady who's usually assigned to be there on that line, and she is terrific. She's like, "Are you coming to my line? Go over here by the X." So,
We'll do. Maybe we can help promote them in it so that people know that they one place in the community that they can come to.
Right.
Okay. Thanks to the both of you.
No, Eli, I want to strongly, I think this is a great issue for the community board to latch on to and to raise the flag on. It would be a good thing for Board 12 to try to get some publicity around this issue, and it would reflect well on us, I believe.
Yeah, I was just texting a designer so they can put a flyer together so that we can use it as a regular promo on social media and stuff. So I was just doing that while we were talking. So thank you again, Steve and Mary.
you might want to check with Domingo also, because when we discussed this, actually, he had talked about being available to, you know, for some signage. So I don't know if he still wants to get involved with that or not.
I'm a little busy right now, so unfortunately, like, I'm at capacity at the moment.
Okay. All right. So Ariel, your report. Thanks, Mary, once again.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing? So I'll keep it pretty brief. Essentially, we went over pretty much what's the main process for budget items. We went along for the most part with most of the items that were included previously. I think some of you already mentioned that you went over some of these items, but just to go, you know, for the most part, there's 5 items that were kept from the previous year in relation to, I believe this was the capital items here, and then an additional 6 or so items, or no, 5 items on expense. We've added 1 item specifically to the capital sheet, and then 2 items on expenses. I'm not sure if perhaps folks might have seen it already. This was shared yesterday with the staff yesterday evening, but yeah, that's pretty much it. We didn't really have much of anything else further than discussion on the budget. Thanks.
Any questions for Ariel? Going one, going twice. Ariel, today's. See?
Yeah.
I knew Steve had a question for you.
Yeah, Ariel, were you able to fit in the item about providing increased funding for the food pantries?
Yeah, I left you a voicemail. Not sure if you saw.
No, I guess not. No. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Deb.
Hi. So the breaking news is that elevator replacement at 191st Street A train, which was projected to go through February 21st, is expected to be done 2 to 3 months early. How do we know that? Because today MTA announced on December 5th, the 181st Street 1 train will be closed for its elevator replacement. MTA will be at the November 2nd TNT meeting to talk about that closure and the alternate travel plan. This is only the second time that we've had a full station closure, and the last time was 168th. And while that was a full closure of the 1 train, at least you still had the A there. So, so like all of these, each closure, each elevator replacement has had its idiosyncrasies, and 181 is gonna be big, but obviously heartened to hear about how quickly they got the last one done. We will have 3 resolutions. We passed 3 resolutions at the TNT committee meeting on October 5th. There are 2 co-namings and 1 related that's not a co-naming, which I want to talk a little bit about. We had a community member who has been circulating with various offices and DOT a proposal for Riverside Drive, and I want people to try to picture this: Riverside Drive west of Broadway. So Riverside Drive between Broadway and the Henry Hudson entrances. And the idea was sort of a little bit inspired by the fact that you no longer have a connected bike lane on Dyckman because of the open street and dining plaza. So, and amongst other reasons, but that's the main reason. So you no longer have a connected bike lane to get you towards the Greenway, the Hudson Greenway, or to the rest of the Dyckman bike lane that goes east. And so the idea that this person had was that you would move that, since you basically don't have the bike lane on Dyckman anymore, you would create it on Riverside Drive on the westbound side and have a protected lane on the far right of the westbound side on the north curb, that means. And then you would take all your existing parking and move it next to the protected bike lane, and you'd have 1 lane of traffic lane rather than 2 lanes of traffic. And besides the issue with the fact that—
I'm sorry, Debbie, I'm very confused. Are you talking about the Riverside portion of Riverside Drive just south of Dyckman Street alongside Fort Tryon Park? Or are you talking about something down in my neighborhood?
I'm talking about next to Fort Tryon, Riverside Drive between Broadway and the Henry Hudson entrances.
Okay, just
So,
the block just south of Dyckman. Oh, okay, now I got it.
Yeah. So, and then the idea, besides the fact that you no longer had the connection, the bikeway connection, was that there's also been, issues with excessive speeding and some describe as drag racing, which this person claimed was actually a little bit of an issue in the right lane, because in the left lane, since more of us are going towards the southbound Henry Hudson, you're kind of like doing your thing and you're meant to be obeying the traffic, but there's a game to play to, like, if you're going to northbound or you just want to get ahead of the line going southbound, because that's where the traffic is, to actually speed in the right lane. So the idea is that you get traffic calming, and you also get, and then you also get the lane that's not working on and not sort of existent on Dyckman, and then move that out of there, and you don't lose any parking because you're retaining the parking, blah, blah, blah. So the other thing is that this short strip, we've been getting a lot of reports of issues also coming east as people exit the highway. They're still at highway speeds, and there have been accidents and like repeated, well, this is property damage, this isn't people getting hurt, but there have been people hurt at Henshaw. So like Henshaw, the sign gets wiped out like every other week. And there actually have been people hurt at that corner. So what we did was we passed a resolution that asked DOT not to support the idea, but to say to DOT, please look into this proposal, but look into the whole strip and evaluate the idea, evaluate the conditions, and come back to us. So this, again, is it's not sort of in support of the proposal as is, but it is saying, go look at this. So again, because we've seen things in both directions, issues in both directions. The other two co-namings, one was, and it's Daryl Cochrane has taken the lead on the Healthcare Heroes Way, which passed unanimously, and I think I'll probably have him present it at the general. And that's been drafted. And this other co-naming we had, which was absolutely a heartbreaker, and one of the harder things I've had to do during a meeting, is a co-naming for Isaiah Chemaronta Way at Dykeman and Nagel. And this is the young person, 13-year-old, who jumped into the very cold water trying to save his friend and died. And a real what was presented to us, and I think people that maybe know the families or know more about the story, and Domingo's been very involved as well, is that this was a kid who touched a lot of people, who was like an upstander, one of those like help people with bullies, help people with, but like sort of help people of all ages, left a mark. It was absolutely, I don't know, I don't really have the words, but there's, I guess, a mural that is up for this young man, but we all felt so honored, I think, to be able to do something small to make sure that this person's history remains, with all of us as part of our collective history as community members. That one hasn't been drafted yet, but that's what I'll be presenting. And then last on the budget stuff, on TNT, we kind of had been sort of pushing along the same stuff over a lot of years. So we really made an effort this time to kind of bring forth a few items that we end up talking about a lot throughout the year, a few hot spots and such, kind of bring those in. We added something on fair fares, which has gotten such a dramatic, it's so dramatically needed, yet has gotten such a dramatic budget cut. So we added that item. So anyway, people will see we don't have a long list, but we've really tried to align it, particularly on the expense side, to things that, we've contended with over time as a committee. And I hope people feel that that is reflected.
Would that be all? Before I move on to Curtis, I'd just like to make a quick comment. Debbie?
Yeah.
Thank you for making it worthwhile to be here. So one of the things that more times are not, when we don't do, which is to recognize the unsung hero, the person that's willing to even give up his life for a fellow human being. So I know about the family, I know them, and thank you for taking the initiative at doing this. Is something that hit home for me. So thank you for making it worth being here at all. As a human being.
Yeah, no, I mean, as I said, I mean, it's such an unspeakable tragedy, and I really did feel honored to learn more about him and to be able to be one more person who could hold him. Because in memory we keep people's alive in a way, and we don't. I mean, this service on community board for all of us gives us exposure to people we might not know because we don't live on their block or we don't go to the same school or what have you. But, you know, but that's the beauty of this, right? That we get to learn those stories and when we get to see this thing that's ours, it's our community, and just understand even that much more about the amazing people that are in it. So, but that was a tough one, boy.
Yeah.
I don't know
Thank
what I'm
you.
gonna do with the general, but we'll figure that out. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you, and Domingo, for making us human once more. My man Curtis, next. Unmute yourself, bro.
Thank you very much.
Oh, come on, man. I need to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect, bro.
I'll be very brief. We had a very productive meeting this past month. We had representations from the 34th, 34th, as well as the fire department. They have not been present for the past few months, but they are back on schedule with attending our meetings regularly. We did speak in great detail about some of the challenges we've heard, ongoing challenges of 3-in-1, noise, ATV, and we had a substantive conversation about the ATV issue. I would love to chat with you, Debbie, offline about this in the future, because there are pieces of legislation at the state level that we can possibly advocate in support of. A few of our local electeds were present in my meeting and they spoke about the ATV issue. There's some ways of including more speed cameras in certain areas, particular time periods. Some are against it, some are in support of it. So I would love to have that issue maybe discussed also at your committee, since it is an overlapping issue. Other than that, we are going to be, we have a few great items on our list of priorities for the budget process, including the 301 issue. We noticed during the summer months that Spanish language is not an option when you call 311. So that's one of the high priorities areas for our committee to advocate for that language accessibility, as well as mental health and clinical support staff for the NYPD precincts to help mitigate some of the issues that we see across the community. I did email you about the 2 shootings. The precincts were great. I want to thank them publicly for emailing us immediately about those incidents. One person was arrested and I believe remains arrested. And the other person at that point in time was had not been arrested. So I think I'm not sure what the update is as of yet, but they're ongoing investigations, so we don't have any additional information at the time. That concludes my report.
Thanks, George. Thank you for keeping us updated in things that we may even drive by the street and then I found out through you. So that was really, thank you for looking out. You're always on top of the game. Is Faye already? I'm sorry.
I should add that, part of the challenge I had was, trying to figure out ways to improve communication with the precincts to ensure that they're giving us information in a very expeditious and efficient way. And I did push them to do that. So they have been emailing me whenever there's an issue. If it's really important, I wouldn't email you all everything, but I thought the shootings were of valuable information that you all should have as well, since it is shootings. I will say that, there have been 4 murders this year, and in the 34th, I believe 5 in the 33rd. So that is an increase. There were only, I think the year to date last year was 1 in both precincts. So those are increases. But other than that, the other increases are burglaries and GLA. There continues to be a lot of car theft because people are leaving their keys in their cars and going to shop. And that's just, it's crazy to me that people are doing that, but they are doing it and people are stealing cars. So the largest increase, it falls under the GLA category and not necessarily particular crime. So the shooting, yes, it is important, but it's important to look at it comparatively to the prior years and really see that the bigger increases are with burglaries, as we see people are still stealing packages and they're also stealing cars. So
yeah, if you own a Honda, you better watch out. That's what they're aiming for. Hondas from 2010 to 2020, something like that. I was just told that they found a bunch of different Hondas all over the world that they were stolen here. So thanks, Curtis.
Happy to answer any questions.
Faye? All right. Just any questions? I guess not. Thanks. Faye, are you there? Were you promoted already? Faye? Faye, are
Eli, she
you
was
are you
not-
on?
She was not promoted. I
No.
can see her.
Yeah. Oh, she hasn't been promoted. While
No.
she gets promoted, then I'll move on to.
Oh. She was promoted now.
She was promoted. Great. Faye.
Hope she wasn't held back.
Okay,
Yeah. Faye.
all right.
We have you now.
Well, you be in control. That's why I couldn't hear you. Thank you for bringing me back. Good evening, everyone. Yes, okay. We finally had our meeting this past Thursday. As you already probably know, we had some turmoil with the transmission, but finally we got it, we got it done. So we were able to comply with our duties. We discussed our budget priority for fiscal year 22. We review a total of 7 items for the expensive expensive budget. And we also review about 13 capital. Unfortunately, I know we were pressure for times, but we did manage to vote for. All the budget priorities were actually adopted. There was few questions that are still remaining that I have to discuss it with James Berlin, which is about one of our Cali Paradise. We have to exit the meeting before we conduct the voting procedures. But she said that she will go with whatever would the recommendation the committee, would do. So my question to Jim was basically whether or not her vote counts, although she stated in advance that she will go with the recommendation the committee, decide.
Are you talking about your committee meeting or the budget priorities meeting?
Budget priority.
The budget.
We have quorum. We have quorum, but one of the members, she have to exit like 10 minutes prior to the committee taking the voting or conducting the voting procedure. And she said before she exit that whatever recommendation the committee she will go with it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to cut you off, but let's try to save a little time. The second she leaves, okay, if you're not at the meeting, you can't vote, and you can't leave your votes behind. It would be like leaving an ordinary meeting early. So she just doesn't get to vote, but probably since she was agreeing with everyone, it probably won't make a big negative difference.
Well, she participated throughout the discussion. She just only.
The point is, if she left the meeting before the vote was taken, she may not vote.
Okay.
Period. Those are the rules.
No, I understand and I appreciate
Thank you.
it. That's the only.
I don't make up the rules. I just interpret them and all of that.
No, you just implement. You just exercise them. All right. So other than that, I just wanted to announce that coming on our next meeting on November 9, we're gonna have a forum, and that would be the second part of the youth and homelessness. We're gonna bring that conversation back from 2017. We are planning to bring the same panel that we brought up, back that we previously had, but we also may have too few folks that are going to be new guests. So far we are still and it's still pending, but so far that's what we are projecting to have the forum on November 9. Other than that, that's my report. I want to thank you for your time, and this is it.
Okay, Faye. Thank you, Faye. Isidro?
So I wanted to thank the staff members, Ebenezer, Shinea, and Paola for putting together the paperwork for the licensing committee. I know, as we all know, that these are unprecedented times. I'm very grateful for putting all the paperwork together. So we had 14 applicants. There were 9 new licenses, which included 4 liquor licenses, and obviously 3 wine and beer licenses. 2 of them were withdrawn at the meeting. One of them was rejected because of no show. There were 2 particular applicants that were a little bit contentious, and that's because there were some residents that came to the meeting, and they had some deep concerns about the possible issues that might come up if we were to approve those 2 licenses. There were some board members, both Gabriela and many others, that raised concerns about those particular spots. At the very end, the committee decided to approve those licenses because the idea was that we could not have punished a business that has not come into the neighborhood, and we should have given them a fair chance, especially on those times. And originally, I myself was going to vote against one of them, but after hearing comments from some of our new members, I decided to vote in favor, and both of these applications passed. We did put a number of stipulations just to make sure that the issues that were concerning to the residents, which was noise, and also double parking issues. So we set up stipulations that they have to be obligated to follow up with these stipulations. But other than that, it was a really nice meetings. I'm happy to see some board members coming to these meetings because it gives me a better perspective of what's going on those some particular areas that I might not be aware of issues that I might not be aware of. So guys, you're always welcome to come to a licensing every now and then. It gives me a great pleasure to hear from you. And it serves a purpose that, we're not there by ourselves. I think that your minutes are going to be submitted by one of our members, and also the resolutions are also going to be written by our fellow members as well. As we move forward, those minutes and resolutions are going to be written by other members. So we're going to alternate every now and then because I want to make sure that, this is inclusive and that, everyone gets involved. With that, I will stop for any questions.
Steve, any questions? Wayne? The usual suspects? No? No question. Isidro, today is your lucky day. You have 0 questions. You must be doing something good.
Oh, Lord.
The next, it'll be Richard Ullman. If he had a computer issue, maybe he's back. And if he's not, can you guys promote him back into the panelist group? And then that'll be Domingo, and that'll be the end of our meeting.
He's here. He just has to be promoted.
Who Richard is?
Yeah, he's in the attendee list.
Can you guys, Chanel or Ebenezer, promote him, please?
To Jonathan.
It has to be one of the hosts that no longer have the ability. It could be you, Ebenezer.
Okay. All right, he's back.
He's promoted already.
Yeah, Richard is here. So Richard.
Richard, you're muted.
Well, until he gets his computer issues resolved, Jonathan, just give us a few words as to the work we've done, where we're going. Jonathan?
I'm sorry, say that again, Ali.
Okay.
Didn't get you.
No, just give us a few reports. A report is basically what's transpiring technology-wise with the board and some of the things that we're planning on doing and so forth.
Well, at the moment, I don't have that nothing new to report. Regardless, that we may have on the hands good tools to handle the transparency and the following meetings going forward.
That's your report. Richard, are you back with us?
I'm sorry, I had a question to Jonathan.
Can I give my report? Because I got this thing.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, Domingo, we did the rankings. Our committee basically worked in this previous month, being able to get different, being able to feel the impact, like getting a better understanding of the impact COVID had on the business sector by being able to identify the various sectors and getting testimonies from business owners, so we could be able to have a refined scope and really truly understand what the impact has been on COVID and what businesses truly need. So in our previous committee meeting, what we did was identify the various sectors that we'll be inviting for the next 2-3 months, so we could put together a solid resolution as to what are some of the recommendations based on what businesses are telling us that we're encouraging the city, what measures to take. And besides that, that was what the meeting consisted of. If folks want a much more in-depth play-by-play, I would say in our minutes in the general board meeting, we should be able to give a better understanding of it. If there's any questions, feel free to let me know or ask, and thank you.
Okay, Ozzy, I think I understand you had a questions before Domingo stepped in.
Yeah, I had a question to Jonathan.
Sure.
Can you update us in regards to the Facebook page?
Well, we've been using the same web page that ultimately we decided. So for the moment, we don't have no plan on bringing on some contacts that may be added on some existing old page that we mentioned at the very beginning. Yeah, that's what we have so far.
Okay. Richard?
Could I just offer a suggestion as one way of looking at this issue, because it seems to be an ongoing issue? Is there a way, Jonathan, to download all of our current followers on the old Facebook page and invite them to like our current page? That's not possible. Okay.
No, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Jonathan. I wanted to say something.
Yeah, that was one of our first and initial proposal. We say that we were able and we still are able to invite any important follower that we might have on the other page, which I still don't know, and we don't have the access. I don't know exactly who has the access. I know some of you guys have that access, but I don't have it, and I don't know which follower we have there. But yeah, absolutely, we can invite them to follow the current page.
Another option which I've seen people do is to simply post messages saying this page is no longer in service, operation, please click here to follow the new link. And you do that once a week, and over time people will start to migrate and they'll start to like the other page.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the actions that we might implement. Either advising, put a message and click here and go there, and also inviting them from the new page also.
Catherine, so we can say something.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And I think in the context of that post, putting that existing Facebook page will be shut down so that people have urgency in going into the new one. And, I think a public meeting isn't necessarily the space to discuss that because that is more logistical. So I think, you know, maybe we can broker a meeting of folks who are managing the old page with the official community board page. And that way we can actually set a time to it because, you know, this is becoming a broken record, honestly. And so as long as we can say, you know, by November 30th, by October, whatever, weekly meetings on the old Facebook page, that it will be shut down. Please like our new ones. I think we can really have a robust following. And eventually people who do find us on Facebook will only find one and not two.
Yeah,
I think we got to turn that around into, from Curtis, the great point, is migrating so that the Facebook page becomes content driven. And it hasn't been content driven. It's mostly been a way of just, you know, broadcasting the meetings. But there's history there that I don't want to get into because really not necessary. You're trying to be as productive as you can here. So basically, you had something else before I call it a night.
Yeah, I wanted to add one more thing to my report. I forgot to mention this, but we have 311 has been an ongoing issue, obviously, for us in this community for a long time. We had 17,000 complaints over the summer. I do follow the borough board meetings as well, so I did listen to the report that Gail Brewer mentioned about 311 complaints and kind of getting to the bottom of where are these calls going. There's been talk about creating a czar, some sorts of, to kind of navigate all this enforcement issues that are going on, and people call 311, they're routed to the fire department, sometimes they're routed to the transportation department. So they're going everywhere, and there's not one central reason as to how their complaints are being resolved. So the 311 issue is an ongoing issue that we're going to have on our agenda next week. I mentioned that because I saw some of our regular attendees at our meeting in the attendee section here. So I want to let you all know that we are going to continue to monitor that issue and to advocate for you know, whatever we can to figure out how to best have those complaints or concerns processed in a way that they're not just being sent out into the universe and no one's ever responding. So that's
thanks, Curtis. Beta NYC that I'm sure you know is the arm, the technological arm of MBPO. And I requested that the 311 studies are also done in Spanish because it hasn't, I mean, it's not the same as translation versus doing something totally in Spanish so that people can understand and grasp, you know, really the concepts that are being explained there. And it's been extremely adamant as to, you know, how this data is transforming. It's transforming in the sense that when you see that the numbers are presented in a way, but you can't translate them into what they really mean. Something as simple as knowing that community boards 3, 9, 10, 11, and 12 have the most noise complaints, just to give an example, out of mainly the entire city. That pattern means something, and that's what is critical. That this beta NYC model is spread out in as many communities and as many boards as it should be. So thank you, Curtis. I think it was an extremely good point. So unless I go to Richard Ullman,
I have something.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I may have missed a part of your report earlier. Did you indicate whether the Columbia, you've asked Columbia to bring the Dyckman Institute scholars to the November meeting?
It was the other way around. Ross had approached me and asked me if it was okay to have the Dyckman scholars in the next general meeting, which I agreed to. He hasn't confirmed yet.
Well, I think he's going to do that. So I wanted
then I'll
you
report it. I'll report it when I have a confirmation.
Okay, I wanted to give you credit for doing it. Okay, and Natalie has asked me to make a big announcement that Community District 12 has actually won
Can I cut you off because I wanted to do that in the general meeting as part of my presentation. So sorry, brother.
So okay, fine. All right, so I won't mention that we won.
No, because I want all 50 of us to celebrate, not just the 11
What
or 12
did we
of us.
win?
Nothing. I'll let you know. Richard, your turn. If I can't get Richard, then I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Wait, who called the motion to adjourn?
Isidro called and I second.
Thank you.
That's not a problem.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good
Good
night.
night. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.